Hello, everybody, and welcome to this exciting event, a launch party for Writing Our Truth, Stories of Struggle and Survival, a new book that these talented writers sitting in front of you have spent the last 15 weeks putting together, and then more recently trying to sell and promote and generally be proud of. You can buy. There's a flyer circulating on those tables. There's a little QR code on the flyer. If you scan that into your phone, it'll take you right to the Amazon page where you can buy your copy right now. Sorry, it said on the flyers that we would have book sales, but unfortunately, we don't have the books for sale today. But we do have, but they are on Amazon, and you can order one right now. It'll be at your house within a couple of days. So check it out. I just wanted to, what we're gonna do today is I wanted to give these readers a chance, these writers a chance to read some passages from their chapters that they wrote in the book. But before they do that, I wanted to just briefly tell you a little bit about our journey and who these writers are and what we've been through and what we've been up to for the last 15 weeks. As you can see here on the screen, that's a copy of our book. The cover image is by Nicole DeLawrence. Nicole, can you raise your hand and get some recognition? A beautiful, that's right, give it up for Nicole, a beautiful painting that she painted in high school and writes about in the book. And so you can see, you can learn more about the significance of this painting in the book, but it's of course a beautiful image just by itself. These students are all in a cohort of human services students. They are working toward a degree in human services. They've been together for the last year. Since last spring, they've been taking classes together in a UDL-based cohort model where their teachers are UDL fellows, and most of their classes take place in these exciting new UDL classrooms that we have on the second floor. And the innovation and the attentiveness and the thoughtfulness that's gone into their program is clearly demonstrated by the professionalism of this incredible book that they've put together. So it's a testimony not only to their great talents as individual writers, but also to this entire program that so many of you who are sitting in this room have done so much to engineer and bring about. I would be remiss if I didn't mention these two wonderful people here. Let's give it up for Dr. Kanya and Dr. Wisniewski.
We look good.
Dr. Kanya and Dr. Wisniewski have been with these students since day one, and maybe even from before day one. Working with them, as one student mentioned, question? What? Oh, and Kaisha has been with them too, yes, everybody. Oh, and she's, right, so John and Lisa have gotten a lot of the headlines, but it's also true that there are a number of other instructors who've been working with this cohort very carefully, and so the work that they're doing in this class is really the culmination of a year-long process that's been going on. Although they've been doing great work in this particular English class that they are taking and wrote this book for, the roots of their success go much deeper and involve, like I say, many of the people in this room, including Diana LaRocca and Danielle Wilkin and even Jack Matthews, who came by to give some useful professional words of wisdom. And so many of you in your own way have contributed, so appreciate that. I just want to take you really briefly through the history of the project. The students started off on the first day of class writing 6-word memoirs and contributing them to a website where they publish 6-word memoirs. You can go to this website and see many of their 6-word memoirs, which turned out to be sort of the seed of the writing that they would go on to do. And it's amazing how much you can say in 6 words if you pick the right 6 words. From there, they went on to write blogs. They each started blogs on WordPress, and over the last 15 weeks, they've been compiling them and using these blogs as a sort of a testing ground for their own writing, which they would go on to revise for the book. We did a lot of readings in class. We went down to the auditorium a couple of times and did readings in the big arena there, and just a lot of readings here along the class. Ricardo, unfortunately, not here today, but you can see him. He's with us in spirit. In the picture. We made a number of interesting YouTube videos that I would encourage you to go search for. Some of them are just readings. Others are interesting, like creative interpretations of their readings that we put together. We spent a lot of time over the last few weeks editing the manuscript, bringing all the writing that they've done together and trying to figure out how it all fits into a single piece. We've been on social media. You can visit our Facebook page. There's no QR code to that, but there's a Facebook page, you can search for it. I've been tweeting out all of their successful accomplishments. And we even made a YouTube video thanks to Dana and Carrie and Ben, who visited our class a few weeks ago and put together this beautiful YouTube video all about what we've been doing and why we've been doing it. And you can see some more inspirational readings from the students at that video. And of course, it all culminated in the publication of the book, which, like I say, available on Amazon. Very cheap price at $4.99. It can be yours if you have Amazon Prime within a couple of days. So go check it out. And of course, that brings us up to the present moment where we're having this exciting launch party that we're all so excited about. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to, first of all, Susan Johnson. They're sitting in the order in which their chapters appear in the finished book. So you'll be able to get a taste of what each author is writing about. And one of the things that I was talking to with, I forget, in the lead up to this event, it worked out that these 9 students, the 9 students who are represented in this book, not only do they all have remarkable stories to tell and profound, meaningful, fascinating narratives about the experiences that they've been through, but it turns out I don't know if it's by coincidence or just is because of John and Lisa's inspiration or just like a unique, combination of influences. For whatever reason, they're all great writers. They came into the class. Can't take too much credit because they came into the class not only with a lot of talent, but with a lot of ambition. So this book project is really their idea. It really kind of came out from a grassroots level of their own desires to share their stories with the world out of various reasons and motivations. So we're doing that right now, and not all of the readers are going to read. They're all going to read some of the things a little bit different. Some of the readings are actually from the book. Some of the readings are things that the writers wrote more recently, but in any event, they'll give you a sense of their voice. And after the readings, if we have enough time, hopefully we'll have a chance to do a little bit of question and answer. So let's give it up for these wonderful student writers. And we start off with Susan Johnson, and here she is.
So before I read an excerpt from my writing, I would just want to say thank you for the professors that set the groundwork for helping me to realize my full potential. Dr. W, anyone do not know Dr. Kanya, he's standing over there, and Professor Goods. They were very instrumental in getting me to where I'm at today. And I say thank you. I was friends with my next door neighbor's daughter, and we also worked at the same company. One day after work, my friend told me that her mother said she must be careful not to end up like me. She told her that I was not to be emulated because I had a child without a father, and I would have to feed her sugar and water. In Jamaica, when that reference is made, it means that the child will grow up malnourished and has no viable future. She was condemning my child to a life that was over before it began. I was not having it. Her words consumed me. It felt like I was hit by high voltage. I was determined not to make her words become true. My daughter was well taken care of. She had everything she needed and much more. She blossomed right before my neighbor's eyes, and she gave me much compliment. She would never know that I was motivated by her negative words. At first, I wanted to prove her wrong, but I got much more out of this experience. I learned the value of hard work. I learned to be a better mother, and I had a story of resilience to tell my children. The end was much better than the beginning.
I as well would like to thank everyone that had a partake in this book process, because it was a short but fast process. But I am very thankful that I got an opportunity to have a voice out here to speak on things that I know people can relate to. And I'm just going to read an excerpt from one of my memoirs called Thank You. I would like to thank my mom for birthing me and giving me life. I thank my family. Without your love and support, where would I be? My children, I could not thank you enough for being my motivation and giving me the strength I once thought I never had. I never had that typical mother-daughter relationship, where your mom or dad comes to your athletic games, award ceremonies, etc. Mostly because my mom was always a very quiet person, and I spoke more to my grandmother and my aunt. She was not that typical mom that was easy to approach and talk about anything with. But the older I got, the closer we got. We talk more. She is always there for me, and I thank God she is still in my life and the lives of my children, including her great-grandchild. It's a blessing to have all the generations still around. This reminds me of how important family is. Dad, I want to thank you too for being the man with no face. As they say, out of sight, out of mind. But thank you for the years I spent with you. At least I have memories.
I like to thank my professors because you guys made me a part of your world. And that allowed me to open myself up to you and to everyone else. And I really appreciate that. They say that parents are God in a child's eyes. Well, my teachers and my professors are God in my eyes. Thank you. It's a little something. Drinking bottles of milk with a Kool-Aid smile, crawling on a shag rug, wearing bunny velour sweatsuits. Staying home sick, lying on the sofa, drinking chicken broth from chicken noodle soup, smelling like Vicks Vapor Rub. Dressed up in all white and baby blue fluffy dresses, taking pictures in our Easter best. Assorted borettes and beads stored in a Royal Dunks cookie tin, sitting in between Ma's legs as she braided life back into me. Covering my head with tights that later would smell of Blue Magic hair grease. Fried bologna sandwiches with noodles, David sunflower seeds with hot sauce. Washing dishes always wet my sleeves. Playing hide and seek at Auntie's house, telling cousin to go ask Ma if I could stay the night. Sitting on each other's lap in the backseat of a packed car on the way to the beach, ducking low when we see the police. Dancing for $1 when Mom's friends stopped by on Friday nights, sipping flat beer on Saturday morning from a can left out from Friday nights. Eating Apple Jacks while watching Woody Woodpecker, digging in dirt with Mom's good spoons and making mud pies. Later, standing at the entrance of the kitchen watching Mom go crazy looking for spoons to go with our dinner. Hot summer days when a quarter was a hot commodity and the icy lady was our prophecy. LB was a retired pimp that sold candy out of his living room. He was the community's candy man. Anything you can get from the store, LB had it. Plus, most of us couldn't cross the street, so LB made a killing off his sweets. Thank you.
I would like first to thank Dr. W, Dr. Kanya, Dr. Goods, and Dr. LaRocco, and Dr. Laist, last but least. This experience here at Goodwin has changed me in so many different ways that you guys cannot even imagine. I've been in school before, but this school is a lot different, and it seemed like the people here really care for you, and they really got your back. But I'm going on to read The Budget Princess. When I was a little girl, I wanted the finer things in life. I decided when I got old enough to work that I would purchase some very expensive things that I wanted to have. Well, I turned 14 years old. I was happy. It was a blizzard outside. I was watching the Flintstones on TV, waiting for this blizzard to be over. Okay, so the blizzard was over. About time, I said. I asked my mom to take me to this grocery store called Edwards. I wanted to apply for a job as a bagger and a cashier, and she told me, "You're too young to work." I got mad, stomped my feet. Why did I do that? She came in the living room from the kitchen mad. She said, "Little girl, you better get your little self up off the floor and come here." I said, "Yes, Mom." She said, why do you want to get a job so bad? I began to tell her, why I wanted this job. She didn't hesitate to take me afterwards, but don't get yourself caught up in those material things, she kept telling me. I am doing my best to make sure you guys have food in your stomach and clothes on your back and a roof over your head, she said. I would take you to go get this job. I was happy, not knowing what it would be like to have a job. I got the job. I went home to my mom, happy and filled with so much joy. She was like, "Let's sit down at the table." So you know that sit down at the table thing is not a good thing. She began to put me on a budget and show me The responsibility instructed me how to save money, at least $10 from each paycheck. And I thought, okay, that's cool. I can do that. Boom, she hit me with this. Okay, now you have to pay rent or a bill at least in the house. I said to her, rent at the age of 14. But just to sum it up, me paying rent and paying bills and saving money was her way of preparing me for life. In case something was to happen to her, I was able to take care of the household. And I was able to be on this budget. I am still on that budget, as it just, it goes up and down, but I'm still on that budget. So I thank you guys for listening.
I'm going to read 2 paragraphs from the ending of one of my chapters. It's on page 96, if anybody wants to follow along. Here I was about 3 or 4 weeks pregnant, and I still didn't tell my mom. Kareem was waiting for the green light to tell his mom. However, his little sister had already overheard us talking about the baby. She was overjoyed by the news. She ran and told his mother. Before we knew it, his mom called us down the stairs. I honestly was expecting a more outraged reaction. Surprisingly, she was happy. Days later, she was already on the website looking for new True Baby clothes and shoes. This would be her first grandchild, and no matter how unexpected this was for her, she was glad and made it feel more secure. I know what you're thinking. Did his mother once try to talk us out of it? Yes, she did. She herself had been a teen mom. I heard plenty of her stories of decent and bad times. But Kareem was there, making it all sound so believable, and that we really could be a happy family. She saw her son abuse me the most, so how could she be content with us bringing a baby into this toxicity? Then again, she gave birth to him at the age of 16. Look how the epidemic just continues itself. I was just another statistic added to the data. I knew that once Kareem's mother knew, it was just a matter of time before my sister knew. And her big mouth would be running to my mom as soon as possible. Now I must wait for this volcano to erupt. I'm sorry. First off, I wanted to thank my 3 professors that I started with, Dr. W, Dr. Kanya, and Dr. Goods, and Dr. Laist for inspiring me to keep writing. Writing is just an outlet for me to tell my truths. My story is very raw and uncut. Some people may not approve of me telling it, but that's just a way of me to get past it and to let them know that I have overcome those fears. Thank you.
First, I would like to thank my first 3 professors, Professor Goods, Dr. Wisniewski, I said it right this time, and Dr. Kanya. The beginning of the school year, I was a little adamant about if I wanted to stay or not, just because 2018 was a rough year for me. I'm not going to be reading a piece from my book. I'm actually going to read a piece, and it's titled 2018. Sorry, I have stage fright, so bear with me. I think I completely lost myself in 2018. Well, at least I thought I did. I'm not sure 100% why, but I wasn't the same. Mostly because I felt like I would take 3 steps forward and then 45 steps back. In February, I lost my great-grandfather, and it was unexpected. Sorry, guys. They could have saved him. The medical assistant she could have performed CPR and chose not to, and that would have saved his life. In the beginning of June, I remember being called by my mother, and I didn't answer because I was working, which was typical for me. But then I got a missed call from my sister and a missed call from my grandparents' home line, and automatically I knew something was wrong. So I rushed to use the bathroom to pick up the call. Grandma's in the hospital, my sister says. The ambulance just picked her up. I'm not sure what happened. Auntie just said her face looked droopy, and the next thing I know, the paramedics are here trying to put grandma on a gurney. My heart skipped a beat. I was worried but relieved that my aunt would be by her side. She was a medical assistant who just graduated. Being that everything was so fresh in her mind and that she's been in the field as a CNA for years, I was sure that my grandmother would get the proper medical care she needed. Before I let my sister finish her thoughts, I hung up very rudely without saying bye to contact my aunt. Long story short, my grandmother suffered from a stroke. About 4 days later, she was discharged. The doctor said it wasn't that bad and it would take her some time to recover. Of course, again, this was one of the days that I was at work. My grandmother finally gets back home, lays down in her bed, and goes through another stroke. It takes 2 ambulances this time to transport her back to the hospital because they ended up breaking down on the highway. How convenient. I think that she had if she would have been able to make it to the hospital sooner, she would have been okay. When I got this information, I flipped out and told my manager I couldn't work anymore. How could I? I felt the people that I loved most suffered because I worked longer than your average 9 to 6, and I had just turned 22. My emotions were all over the place, worried, unreliable, and bipolar, mostly frustrated and worried about what this meant for my grandmother. Speech therapy, and she wasn't able to move her entire left side, meaning she wouldn't be able to walk again. A month later, I lost my older brother, and a few weeks after my brother's closed casket, I found out that I was pregnant. I was anxious and overwhelmed, and it was a weird feeling. Somewhat surreal. I was scared to tell her father, and I had no clue what my parents would feel. At this time, I wasn't living at home, but I remember thinking now, I just might have to move back. But parts of me wondered if I would even be allowed back. When I finally told the news about my daughter, they comforted me, and it went way better than I expected. Everyone loves that little girl, and I am truly blessed. Thank you.
I'm going to be straightforward and say I never worked hard in my life. I am always looking for the easy way out. Some people call it laziness. I'll call it working smart. I'm the type of person that will be upset if sweat comes down my face, and I will ask for a raise. Surprisingly, never in my life I have been fired. I only worked a handful of jobs: Taco Bell, Dunkin' Donuts, Charlie, Forever 21, and Accurate. I remember working in a fast food restaurant. I had a great experience. I never did any work, and I was always posting funny content on social media with my teams and acting like a grown child. I used to walk around shirtless with an apron on, acting while cooking, or walking around in compression pants. I used to go to the gym after work. That's why I would wear them. And people would look at me crazy or laugh hysterically. I would start food fights in Taco Bell. I spalled a coworker with a huge burrito, and in Dunkin' Donuts, we would have Munchkin wars. Charlie's was the strictest and hardest, but there were times where I would not care and throw ice at my coworkers. My managers and I had a love-hate relationship. Would you believe me if I told you I worked at Dunkin' Donuts for 5 months and still would not know the difference between any of the coffees? I don't even know. I used to randomly make coffee and pray to God that I wouldn't kill anyone who was allergic to one of the ingredients. Hey. I used to have my coworkers do my work for me and just collect a check. I used to always go to work and watch movies or sleep. The only reason I left the paradise I called work was because my friends left or because I got too bored of the job.
Did you believe now that he's a manager?
Oh yeah, no, that's
Here you go.
yeah, that's the twist ending of the story. You have to read the whole thing because then he works his way up to the top with his unique work ethic. Thank you so much to all of you. That's kind of just a big round of applause for all the writers.